Okay, a little bit late, but chapters 31, 32, 33, and 34 in Deuteronomy. Let me put it right here. 31 through 34 to close out Deuteronomy. Pin that real quick. Pin. Alright, yeah, so chapter 31, 32, 33, and 34 to finish the book of Deuteronomy today, and then tomorrow we shall start Joshua. Thank you, Father God, for giving me today. Thank you for giving me a time and a place and a home and a phone and a Bible to read and express your words. I pray that you use me now to let people know your truth, and I pray that truth is heard by all those who need to hear it. Okay. All right. So Joshua to succeed Moses. So Moses continued to speak these words to all Israel, and he said to them, "I am 120 years old. I am no longer able to go out and come in. The Lord has said to me, you shall not go over this Jordan. The Lord your God himself will go over before you. He will destroy these nations before you, so that you shall dispose them, and Joshua will go after your head. So that you shall dispose them, and Joshua will go over at your head. And the Lord has spoken, and the Lord will do to them as he did to Sihon and Og, the kings of the Amorites, and to their land when he destroyed them. And the Lord will give them over to you, and you shall do to them according to the whole commandment that I have commanded you. Be strong and courageous. Do not fear or be in dread of them, for it is the Lord your God who goes with you. He will not leave you or forsake you." Bars. Then Moses summoned Joshua and said to him in the sight of all Israel, "Be strong and courageous, for you shall go with this people into the land that the Lord has sworn to their fathers to give them, and you shall put them in possession of it. It is the Lord who goes before you. He will be with you. He will not leave you or forsake you. Do not fear or be dismayed." So Moses is just saying, I'm going to hand over the baton to Joshua, and he's got it from here. Then Moses wrote this law and gave it to the priests and the sons of Levi who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and to all the elders of Israel. And Moses commanded them at the end of every 7 years, at the set time in the year of release, at the Feast of Booths, when all Israel comes to appear before the Lord your God at the place that he will choose, you shall read this law before all Israel in their hearing. Assemble the people, men, women, and little ones, and sojourner within your towns, and that they may hear and learn to fear the Lord your God, and be careful to do all the words of this law, and their children who have not known you or who have not known it may hear and learn to fear the Lord your God, as long as you live in the land that you are going over the Jordan to possess. So wrote this, that line wrote this, where it says, then Moses wrote this law and gave it to the priests. Wrote this law. Moses indicates that God's law had ongoing validity for the future generations. From now on, the meditation of God's word to Israel, given orally through Moses, will be through the written text. So he's saying, then Moses wrote this law and gave it to the priest. So yeah, since Moses is no longer going to be the one, kind of talking to God, he wrote all of this stuff down for them. Cool. Talking to Israel, or talking to God for Israel, basically. Now he's going to be gone, so he's like, here, just follow this instead, because I ain't going to be here as an what's that word? Intermediator. Yeah, I think that's it. continue. And, one more second. The end of every 7 years at the set time in the year of release and the Feast of Booths. These passages give one of the clearest pictures of how people were taught the law. The priests had the responsibility to read this law aloud to the people at all the great fall festivals at the place he will choose. So yeah, that's how the Israel as a whole was kind of getting these laws. Moses gave them to the priest. The priest told all of them kind of verbally at great festivals. Men, women, and little ones, and the sojourner. According to this, only the men were required to make the pilgrimage of the feast each year. Here the obligation is extended to everyone in the 7th year when the law is read. So yeah. Originally in chapter 16, verse 16, only the men were required to make the pilgrimage for the feast each year. But here, in chapter 30, verse 12, it says, assemble the people, men, women, and little ones, and the sojourner within your towns. So now everyone's got to go. And then let's just get into the next chapter, or not the next chapter, the next section. And the Lord said to Moses, behold, the days approach when you must die. Behold Joshua, and present yourself in the tent of meeting, that I may commission him. And Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tent of meeting. And the Lord appeared in the tent in a pillar of cloud, and the pillar of cloud stood over the entrance of the tent. And the Lord said to Moses, behold, you're about to lie down with your fathers. Then this people will rise and whore after the foreign gods among them in the land that are entering, and they will forsake me and break my covenant that I have made with them. Then my anger will be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them and hide my face from them, and they will be devoured. And many evils and troubles will come upon them, so that they will say in that day, have not these evils come upon us, because our God is not among us? And I will surely hide my face in that day because of all the evil that they have done, because they have turned to other gods. Makes me think maybe that's the reason why there's so much bad stuff going on right now. God is hiding his face because as a whole, as a people, for the most part, we aren't following God, and we're following other idols. But to continue, and I will surely hide my face in that day because of all the evil they have done, because they have turned to other gods. Now therefore write this song and teach the people of Israel, put in their mouths, and the song may be a witness for me against the people of Israel. For when I have brought them into the land flowing with milk and honey, which I swore to give to their fathers, and they have eaten and are full and are grown fat, they will turn to other gods and serve them, and despise me and break my covenant. And when many evils and troubles have come upon them, this song shall confront them as witnesses, for it will live unforgotten in the mouths of their offspring. For I know what they are inclined to do even today, because I have brought them into the land that I swore to give. So Moses wrote this song the same day and taught it to the people of Israel. Hold up before I go into it. Let's see. What does it say right here? It's saying that the clear expectation is that Israel will disobey, end up in idolatry, and become the object of God's wrath. Idolatry is often described in the Old Testament in language of whoredom and adultery. But it's very interesting where it says right here, and when many evils and troubles have come upon them, and I'll before that, for when I have brought them into the land flowing with milk and honey, which I swore to give to their fathers, and they have eaten, are full and grown fat, they will turn to other gods and serve them, and despise me and break my covenant. It's very interesting that he says that, especially in today's kind of life. I was just talking the other day how there's so many people who hate God, like despise God. They don't they say they don't believe in him. And even with saying he's not real, they hate him, which is just, to me, doesn't make a lot of sense. How do you think something's not real and also have so much hate for it? If you think something's not real, if you truly think something's not real, there's no reason to have that much hate for it. Yeah, it just says here, they will despise me and break my covenant and serve other gods. And I don't know. It just seems like it's hitting a little hard, a little close to home, because that's what a lot of people do today. They absolutely despise God, and they worship and idolize, and worship other gods, idolize other things over him. Okay, but to continue, and the Lord commissioned. Right. So Moses wrote this song the same day and taught it to the people of Israel. And the Lord commissioned Joshua, the son of Nun, and said, be strong and courageous, for you shall bring the people of Israel into the land that I swore to give them. I will be with you. When Moses had finished writing the word of this law in a book to the very end, Moses commanded the Levites who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, take this book of the law and put it by the side of the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that it may be there for a witness against you. For I know how rebellious and stubborn you are. Behold, even today, while I am yet alive with you, you have been rebellious against the Lord. How much more after my death? Assemble to me all the elders of your tribes, of your officers, that I may speak these words in their ears, and call heaven and earth to witness against them. For I know that after my death you will surely act corruptly and turn aside from the way that I have commanded you. And in the days to come evil will befall you, because you will do what is evil in the sight of the Lord, provoking him to anger through the works of your hands. Then Moses spoke the words of this song until they were finished in the ears of all the assembly of Israel. And I mean, it's him saying that y'all about to see how much they fall off. But them Israelites, man, they be wilding out. Like, God be taking care of them, providing for them, letting them take down giants and just people they're not supposed to, providing for them more than they even, like, to the point that, like, they're in the desert and they're hungry. And then God's like, here, man, you even got to worry about food. Here's all the food you need. Here's all the water you need. And then they start going like, yeah, but we tired of eating that same old thing. What else you got? You know, like, they're just some ungrateful bunch of people. It's a shame. And then, yeah, even though like this God is the God that's done all that for them, they're going to be very quick to throw him to the side and not even appreciate what he's done for them. But, all right, let's get into chapter 32. That was 31. We're going to do 32, 33, and then 34. And that'll be the end of this book. So imagine I'm singing this, I think, is a song from Moses. Yeah, Moses spoke the words of this song. So just add some flair to it. Give ear, O heavens, and I will speak, and let the earth hear the words of my mouth. May my teaching drop as the rain, my speech distill as the dew, like gentle rain upon the tender grass, and like showers upon the herb. For I will proclaim the name of the Lord. Ascribe greatness to your God. The rock, his work is perfect, for all his ways are justice. A God of faithfulness and without iniquity, just and upright is he. They have dealt corruptly with him. They are no longer his children, because they are blemished. They are crooked and twisted generation. Do you thus repay the Lord, you foolish and senseless people? Is not your Father who created you, who made you and established you? Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Oh man, it's a long song. Ask your father, and he will show you, your elders, and they will tell you. when the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, when he divided mankind, he fixed the borders of the people according to the number of the sons of God. But the Lord's portion is his people, Jacob his allotted heritage. He found him in a desert land, in a howling waste of wilderness. He encircled him, he cared for him, he kept him as the apple of his eye, like an eagle that stirs up its nest, that flutters over its young, spreading out its wing, catching them, bearing them on its pinions. The Lord alone guided him. No foreign god was with him. He made him ride on the high places of the land. He ate the produce of the field, and he suckled him with honey out of the rock, and oil out of the flinty rock, curds from the herd, and milk from the flock, with fat of lambs, rams of Bashan, and goats, with the very finest of the wheat, and you drank foaming wine made from the blood of the grape. But Jeshurun grew fat and kicked. You grew fat, stout, and sleek. Then you forsook God, who made him, and scoffed at the rock of his salvation. They stirred him to jealousy with strange gods, with abominations. They provoked him to anger. They sacrificed to demons that were no gods. Remember that. They sacrificed to demons that were no gods. To gods they had never known, to gods that had come recently, whom your fathers had never dreaded. You were unmindful of the rock that bore you, and you forgot the God who gave you birth. The Lord saw it and spurned them because of the provocation of his sons and his daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see that their end will be, for they are a perverse generation, children in whom is no faithfulness. They have made me jealous with what is no God. They provoked me to anger with their idols. I will make them jealous with those who are no people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. For a fire is kindled by my anger, and it burns to the depths of Sheol, devours the earth and its increase, and sets on fire the foundations of the mountains. And I will heap disasters upon them. I will spend my arrows on them. They shall be wasted with hunger and devoured by plague and poisonous pestilence. I will send the teeth of beasts against them, with venom of things that crawl in the dust. Outdoors the sword shall bereave, and indoors terror. For young men and women alike, the nursing child with the man of gray hairs, I would have said, I will cut them to pieces, I will wipe them from human memory, had I not feared provocation by the enemy, lest their adversaries should misunderstand, lest they should say, our hand is triumphant. It was not the Lord who did all this, for they are a nation void of counsel, and there is no understanding in them. If they were wise, they would understand this. They would discern their latter end. How could one have chased 1,000 and two have put 10,000 to flight, unless their rock had sold them and the Lord have given them up? For their rock is not our rock. Our enemies are by themselves, for their vine comes from the vine of Sodom and from the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of poison, their clusters are bitter. Their wine is poison of serpents and the cruel venom of asps. It's not this laid up in the store with me, sealed up in my treasuries. Vengeance is mine, and recompense for the time when their foot shall slip, for the day their calamity is at hand, and their doom comes swiftly. For the Lord will vindicate his people and have compassion on his servants, when he sees that their power is gone, and there is none remaining, bond or free. Then he will say, where are their gods, the rock in which they took refuge, who ate the fat of their sacrifices and drank the wine of their drink offerings? Let them rise up and help you. Let them be your protection. See now that I am he, and there is no God beside me. I kill and I make alive, I wound and I heal, and there is none that can deliver out of my hand. For I lift up my hand to heaven and swear, as I live forever, if I sharpen my flashing sword, and my hand takes hold on judgment, I will take vengeance on my adversaries, and I will repay those who hate me. I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh with the blood of the slain and the captives. From the long-haired heads of the enemy, rejoice with him, O heavens, bow down to him, all gods, for he avenges the blood of his children, and he takes vengeance on his adversaries. He repays those who hate him, and cleanses his people's land. Dang, bars. Let's get into that a little bit. So, the Song of Moses, in addition to the writing of the law and a recital every 7 years, the Song of Moses also acts as a witness against Israel. So, let's see what it has to say. So it says, do thus repay the Lord, you foolish and senseless people. Is not he your father who created you? Your father. It's used a lot in the New Testament, but it is used also in the Old Testament. So that's one of the key things it says to lock onto. Then when he says he gave the nations their inheritance, he's talking about Edom, Moab, and Ammon, as well as Israel throughout the book. According to the number of sons of God, may suggest that certain angels are responsible for specific nations, whereas the Lord himself cares for Israel. See also the second ESV footnote. The Lord's portion, a term for special affection. Let me read that right now. So, when the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, when he divided mankind, he fixed the borders of the peoples according to the numbers of the sons of God. So scholarly. I know there's this in I guess you would call it theology. Some scholars believe that, because like there is God, right? God is God. God is the God of Israel, and he kind of claims over Israel, and he's the key. I mean, obviously the other nations worship other gods, and those other gods are like lesser, they're lesser gods, but you would say that they're not even gods. They're like fallen angels. So when he says that right here, when he says he fixed the borders of the people according to the number of the sons of God, the sons of God are, it's saying right here, sons of God may suggest that certain angels are responsible for specific nations, albeit those other angels may be, and those were maybe the ones that they're worshiping as God, but is not God, because we are flawed individuals, and sometimes we kind of, as the people are, give me a second. How am I going to word this? So they start worshiping the other gods, those angels, as if they're like full-fledged gods, and they're not God. But I mean, I guess it's kind of easy for us to do, considering like anything that we see that is kind of a certain level of, I don't know, celestial, or, just like, I don't know, above what we are. It's kind of easy to just kind of be like, when something is more than man, men tend to kind of, or it would be easy for the men of these days to just kind of bow down and be like, oh wait, yeah, you're like God or something. But it says to see Job 1:6. So let's go check that out actually. Now there was so it's saying to check out 1:6, right? See Job 1:6 for sons of God. Job 1:6. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Zion also came from among them. It's saying in 1:6. The sons of God refers to heavenly beings gathered before God. Like a council before a king, the Hebrew idiom sons of can be used as of a group that is led by a figure referring to their father, the father of a band of prophets. For instance, the father of a band of prophets. So yeah, that's what it. There's some what's the word I'm looking for? As far as what scholars think, there's some differences in opinions there. Let's do some more research. I actually made this app. I should use it, man. I don't know why I'm not using it right now. But it's real cool, and it allows you to do a bunch of research in very cool ways on stuff. Let's see here. Deuteronomy, what are we on? Chapter 31, 32, verse 9, 8. Explain, sons of God, what to share. Let's get to the bottom of this. I need a Jamie to just look things up for me. Most scholars agree that the sons of God is the original reading. They argue that the later scribes deliberately altered the text to remove the polytheistic imagery that made them uncomfortable. Scholar Emmanuel Tav calls this an anti-polytheistic alteration. The Masoretic scribes essentially demytholized the passage by replacing God with Israel. A theological motivated change, not a copying error. And there's the divine council concept. The sons of God reading reflects a council of divine beings that appear throughout the Hebrew Bible. This wasn't polytheism in the modern sense. Israel maintained strict monotheism. Yahweh was the one true God, but acknowledged that other nations had patron deities under Yahweh's authority. Scholars like Mark Smith argue that this theology made sense in the ancient world. Each nation had its own god, and these gods were subordinate to Yahweh. However, by the 8th century BC, when the Assyrian Empire reshaped the world order, Israel's theology shifted. Later texts eliminated reference to other gods as legitimate divine beings, treated them as non-entities instead. The textual change in Deuteronomy reflects theological evolution. Let me see something. So it's saying that scholars have, when it comes to this, a difference of opinions on it. Let's see. Because scholars, I mean, they think, or say? So yeah, the Bible actually does portray through its or does portray other gods. Other gods exist and are worshipped. It doesn't deny their existence outright. Here's what scholars see. Psalm 82 is the clearest example. God stands in a divine assembly that says to other gods, "You are gods, and all of you are sons of the Most High," but he condemns them. Nevertheless, you will die like mere mortals. You will fall like every other ruler. This isn't saying you don't exist. It's saying you exist, but you're accountable to me, and you're failing at your job. God is furious that they're not protecting the weak and vulnerable. Yeah. So yes, like I said, so that thing right there where it says, so he's saying that Israel's Yahweh in charge of Israel, or Israel has Yahweh as their God. The land is split up amongst other gods, and it's made evident by the other gods kind of being worshipped in all those other lands. And they're by other gods, it's like they're angels, they're sons of God, because God is like the top God, and they have those other things, and God has Yahweh, or the Israel God, has got claim over Israel, and he's like, you can't touch these ones, and he's like slowly kind of wiping all the other ones off the map anyways. But there are other gods, but they're more like angels. Yahweh is the only so Yahweh forbids the worship of other gods. That language only makes sense if those gods are real competitors. You don't get jealous about things that don't exist. A parent doesn't forbid their kid from worshiping a fictional deity. That would be pointless. The prohibition is more like, these are other gods, are real. They have power. People worship them, but you belong to me, not them. Have a good night, brother. Thanks for preaching the word. God bless, man. God's work, the homie. Yeah, man. He said to pin it, so I was like, I got it. Got a pin after you said pin. I was like, that's a genius idea. I've been pinning ever since. Yeah, so other gods do exist, but they're sometimes referred to as gods. Sometimes they're not referred to as gods. When we say God, this idea of God that we know God is like the top. He's the capital G God. So like when he said there is no other gods, he means like nobody kind of like is what he is, because he's like the God of all of those lesser things. We would consider them gods because they're so much more than us as far as like what they can and can't do, what they can do. So like if we were looking at them, we're like, oh man, that's like a god or like a demigod, or like, you know, that's just something beyond us. But to him, he's like, man, that's like that's a poodle, you know, like it ain't nothing special, you know. So yeah, there's that. But it makes sense that there were other like real entities, beings, deities in other parts of or in the surrounding areas that kind of had claim over the people that were there. And that's why God, especially in Deuteronomy, is over and over and over saying, do not worship these other gods. I'm the God to worship. Like, I'm the one. I'm the top one. These guys are not. Like, and like it says right here in later in Psalm 82, you understand they're like those other gods that are there, they're doing what they're not supposed to be doing, right? Because he says, you are gods and you are sons of the Most High. But then he condemns them, saying, nevertheless, you will die like mere mortals. You will fall like every other ruler, because they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Says you don't he's not saying that they don't exist. He's saying they exist, but they're accountable to him and they're failing at their job. They're not supposed to be the ones that are getting the worship. They're not supposed to be the ones that are making the humans stray away from what they're supposed to be doing. If anything, they're supposed to be helping us, and they're ruining us. And that's why God's like, forget these guys, man. These other angels, other gods are like, they messing up big time. But let's continue. Okay, so where were we at? But the Lord portion of his people, Jacob, his allotted heritage, he found him in a desert land, in a howling waste of wilderness. He encircled him, he cared for him, he kept him as an apple of his eye, like an eagle that stirs up its nest. And oh no, I already, whatchamacallit, I finished all this, didn't I got all the way to the end of it. He repays who hate him and cleanses his people's land. I'm gonna start from right here anyways. Like an eagle that stirs up its nest, that flutters over its young, spreading out its wings, catching them, bearing them in its pinions. The Lord alone guided him. No foreign god was with him. He made him ride on his high places of the land. He ate the produce of the field. He suckled them with honey out of the rock, with oil out of the flinty rock, curds from the herd and milk from the flock, with fat of a lamb, rams of Bashan and goats, and with the very finest of the wheat. You drink foaming wine made from the blood of the grape. Bars. Let's see. But Jeshurun grew fat and kicked. You grew and kicked. You grew fat, stout, and sleek, and he forsook God who made him and scoffed at the rock of his salvation. They stirred him to jealousy with strange gods, with abominations. They provoked him to anger. The strange gods. Idolatry is the key sin and threat of Israel. God, the rock, he has redeemed and provided for Israel, whereas idols or false gods have no real existence on track record. The rock is capitalized multiple times while you're reading in this too, and rock is another word, like it's used in the place of God in this part of the Bible right now too. So to continue, they sacrificed to demons that were no gods. That's interesting too, right? They sacrificed to demons that were no gods, saying that like they're not gods, they're less than. Seem crazy to us, but evil. Oh, 1 second. Me wife is calling. Quick pause. I might have to make a bottle. I'm on live. What's up? Okay, we're back. Sacrifice to demons that were no gods, to gods they had never known, to gods that had come recently, whom your fathers had never dreaded. And again, these are the only God, the only entity that's been helping Israel the whole time is Yahweh, right? Is like that the one that helped Abraham, the one that helped Noah, the one that helped Jacob, the one that helped Joseph, like that one is this one, and this other, that's where all these other ones that are out there right now roaming around, God's like, those ones not even helped you, man. His fathers, they had never known to new gods that had come recently, whom your fathers had never dreaded. You were unmindful of the rock that bore you and forgot the God who gave you birth. So it's saying like, and that's what Israel's doing over and over again. They just completely forget about the one that's been there for them the whole time and has been helping them just from the jump. The Lord saw it and spurned them because of your provocation of his sons and daughter. And he said, I will hide my face from them. That's God's punishment of sin and is his withdrawal. Poor baby. Sad. Hide my face from them. I will see that their end will be, for they are perverse generation, children in whom is no faithfulness. They have made me jealous with what is no God. They have provoked me to anger with their idols. So he's calling them like no God again. He's like, you've made me jealous with like a nothing, man. And his jealousy, remember, is a righteous jealousy, and because he knows what's good for us. Following him is what we're supposed to be doing, and we're over here misaligning our like praise and worship to things that are no good for us. So let's see. They have provoked me to anger with their idols. I will make them jealous with those who are no people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. Paul quotes from this verse to show that Israel will need a remedy for their unbelief regarding Jesus. Then Sheol in this next verse is a word for like the underworld. For a fire is kindled by my anger, and it burns to the depths of Sheol, devours the earth and its increase, and sets on the fire foundations of the mountains. And I will heap the disaster upon them, and I will spend my arrows on them. They shall be wasted with hunger and devoured by plague and poisonous pestilence. I will send the teeth of beasts against them, with venom of the things that crawl in the dust outdoors. The sword shall bereave, and the indoors terror, for young men and women alike, the nursing child with the man and the gray hairs. I would have said, I will cut them to pieces. I will wipe them from the human memory. Have I not feared provocation by the enemy, lest their adversaries should misunderstand, lest they should say, our hand is triumphant. When it says, lest their adversaries should misunderstand, the reputation of God is the driving force behind the switch from punishment of Israel to salvation of Israel. That one question right here I want to look up first. And when it's saying, let's break down Deuteronomy 32, 1. About 3. lest every should misunderstand, lest they should. Our hand is triumphant. It was not the Lord who did all this, for they are a nation void of counsel, and there is no understanding in them. If they were wise, they would understand this. They would discern their latter end. How could one have chased 1,000 and two have put 10,000 to fight, unless their rock had sold them and the Lord had given them up? For their rock is not as our rock. Again, rock capitalized when he's talking about God. For their vine comes from the vine of Sodom and from the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of poison. Their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the poison of serpents and the cruel venom of asps. So Israel's rock is God. The rock of the enemies refers to those so-called gods of other nations, and their gods are impotent and nothing. Hence the enemies are by themselves. Therefore, any victory over Israel must be attributed to God's giving up Israel into their hands. So let's break down that end. You know, 20, yeah. So when it's saying, all right. So God is portrayed as the rock, reliable, steadfast, and unchanging, the Father who created and sustained Israel, and also the eagle who's protecting Israel in the wilderness. Divine gifts found Israel in the wilderness and cared for them, gave them the land of abundance, and provided all they needed. The metaphors rock, father, and eagle establish God's absolute reliability and intimate care. This isn't a distant deity, it's a deeply personal one. Now, Israel's response is they grew fat and kicked against God, abandoned the rock who created them, provoked God to be jealous by worshiping foreign gods, made sacrifices to demons, not God. So God hides his face from them, sends calamities, and scatters them among the nations. This section uses shame and blame. The song is designed to make Israel feel the weight of their betrayal. The contrast between God's gifts and Israel's ingratitude is stark and emotionally powerful. Some scholars see this as addressing post-traumatic guilt after national disaster. Then the twist is God doesn't destroy Israel completely because he doesn't want the enemy nations to misunderstand, thinking they defeated Israel, not Israel is foolish and lacks understanding, but God will ultimately vindicate them anyways. God allows Israel's enemies to oppress them, but only as long as their gods are real. Once Israel's enemies realize their gods are powerless, they'll understand that Yahweh alone is supreme. This is theologically brilliant. God's judgment is actually a demonstration of his power to the nations. Israel's suffering serves a large cosmic purpose, proving Yahweh's supremacy. It's all part of God's plan. Okay, let me get to verse 39 before I continue. I would have cut them to peace for the nations, discern the later end. How could one have chased 1,000 and two have put 10,000 to flight, unless their rock had sold them and the Lord had given them up? For their rock is not as our rock. Our enemies are by themselves, for their vine comes from the vine of the Sodom and from the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of poison. Their clusters are bitter. Their wine is poison of serpents and their cruel venom of asps. It's not this laid up in store with me, sealed up in the treasuries. Vengeance is mine, and recompense for the time when their foot shall slip. For their day of their calamity is at hand, and their doom comes swiftly. For the Lord will vindicate his people and have compassion on his servants when he sees that their power is gone and that there is none remaining, bond or free. Then he will say, where are their gods, the rock on which they took refuge, who ate the fat of their sacrifices and drank the wine of their drink offerings? Let them rise up and help you. Let them be your protection. See now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God beside me. I will kill you, and I make alive. I will heal. I will wound, and I will heal, and there is none that I can deliver out of my hand. And there is none that I can deliver out of my hand. For I lift up my hand to heaven, and I swear as I live forever, if I sharpen my flashing sword, and my hand takes hold on judgment, I will take vengeance on the adversaries, and I will repay those who hate me. I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh, with the blood of the slain and of the captives, from the long-haired heads of the enemies. Rejoice with me, O heavens, bow down to him, all gods, for he avenges the blood of his children and takes vengeance on his adversaries. He repays those who hate him and cleanses his people's land. So this next section, 39 to 43, which is like going over the end, it's the climax. God declares his sovereignty and promises vengeance on Israel's enemies and atonement for his people. Where it says, see now that I, even I, am he, and there is no beside me. Bars. Praise, O nations, his people, for he will avenge the blood of his children, take vengeance on his adversaries, and he will make atonement for his land and his people. The song ends with Israel's doom, but with restoration and vindication. The nations themselves will praise Israel because they'll witness God's power. This is looking forward to the end times when God's justice is fully revealed. So, key scholarly. Deuteronomy 32 establishes God's absolute faithfulness through metaphor narrative, shames Israel for ingratitude and apostasy, explains suffering as divine discipline, not abandonment, promises ultimate vindication when God's justice is fully revealed, binds Israel's identity to covenant obedience, preserves theology through memorable poetry that won't be forgotten. Let's see, anything else? Okay. So that's a little bit left of 32. Moses came and recited all the words of this song in the hearing of the people, he and Joshua, the son of Nun. And when Moses had finished speaking all these words to all Israel, he said to them, take to heart all the words by which I am warning you today, that you may command them to your children, that they may be careful to do all the words of this law. For it is no empty word for you, but your very life, and by this word you shall live long in the land that you are going over the Jordan to possess. So now chapter 33 and then chapter 34, and we're done with this one. So 33, hold on. Moses came, recited, Jordan possessed. That very day the Lord spoke to Moses, go up this mountain to Abram, Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, opposite of Jericho, and view the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the people of Israel for possession. So remember, Moses can see the promised land where he's going to die at. So this is what it's leading up to. I'm giving to the people of Israel for possession, and die on the mountain which you go up, and be gathered to your people, as Aaron your brother died in Mount Hor and was gathered to his people, because you broke faith with me in the midst of the people of Israel at the waters of Meribah Kadesh in the wilderness of Zin, and because you did not treat me as holy in the midst of the people of Israel, for you shall see the land before you, but you shall not go there into the land that I'm giving you to the people of Israel. So the big thing with Moses is he had these laws, he was following them, but he's being punished because he gave the people what they wanted instead of listening to God. And then he gave the people what he wanted, not by doing what God wanted him to do, but trying to force God's hand to do something. And there's a rock, and the people were thirsty, and God said, give them water, but tell the rock to give you water. And then he started smacking the rock with his staff to make water come out, which is totally not what he was told him to do. And so he just was not listening to God. And like I said, he was the one who was trying to force it to happen. He hit it once, nothing happened. He hit it twice, and then the water came out. And so then that's God's big thing. And it's like teaches a lesson that in life, you can see where you're trying to go, right? You can see you're trying to make it to heaven. You're trying to get to the promised land. You can see the promised land from where you're standing, but it's not, you can't get there by doing the things that you want to do. The way you get there is by following Joshua, aka Jesus. You don't get there by forcing your hand through the ways of Moses, or trying to force things in the way of Moses or Mosaic law. I'm looking up something because all this is supposed to be written by Moses, and there's some scholars don't think Moses wrote it, but then some scholars do think that Moses wrote it, and it's their debate's interesting. Some scholars occupy a middle position. All right, so let's continue. 33 and 34, last ones. This is the blessing which Moses, wilderness, and for you shall see the land before you, but you shall not go there into the land I am giving the people of Israel. This is the blessing with which Moses, the man of God, blessed the people of Israel before his death. He said, the Lord came from Sinai and drawed from Seir upon us he shone forth from Mount Paran. He came from 10,000s of holy ones with flaming fire at his right hand. Yes, he loved his people. Hold up. Yeah. He came from 10,000s of holy ones with flaming fire at his right hand. So that right there is pointing towards kind of this, a bunch of other just kind of holy entities right there. He says that he came from 10,000 holy ones. Let's see here, verse 3. Chapter 33. Oh, well, verse 2, actually. I'm sorry. So, God is accompanied by a divine army, 10,000 angels or saints. Yeah. The verse describes God's journey from the south approaching Israel. This may be a reference to the original Sinai, or it may be a poetic language suggesting God is coming to bless and protect Israel. He shined. The word Yafia is used, meaning shine, gleam, or radiate light. God's appearance is always accompanied by light and radiance. The Hebrew word for God's glory is kabod, meaning weightiness or brilliance. The imagery connects Exodus 24:17, where God's glory appears as a consuming fire. He came with 10,000 saints refers to divine beings accompanied God. Angels, holy ones, divine council members. Scholarly consensus, these likely refers to God's heavenly army entourage. Angels are divine beings who accompany God's appearance. The number 10,000 is symbolic of a vast multitude, not literal. This connects to Psalm 68:17. The chariots of God are tens of thousands, thousands upon thousands. The Lord is among them at Sinai in the sanctuary. Very interesting. Yes, he loved his people. All his holy ones were in his hand, so they followed in your steps, receiving direction from you. When Moses commanded us law as a possession for the assembly of Jacob, thus the Lord became king of Jeshurun. When the heads of the people were gathered, all the tribes of Israel together, let Reuben live and not die, but let his men be few. And this he said of Judah, hear, O Lord, the voice of Judah, and bring him into his people with your hand. Contend for him and be help against his adversaries. And of Levi he said, give Levi your Thummim and your Urim to your godly one, whom you tested at Massa, with whom you quarreled at the waters of Meribah, who said of his father and mother, I regard them not. He disowned his brother and ignored his children, for they observed your word and kept your covenant. They shall teach Jacob your rules and Israel your law. They shall put incense before you and whole burnt offerings on your altar. Bless, O Lord, his substance, and accept the work of his hands. Crush the loins of his adversaries and those who hate him, that they rise not again. You know, I just thought of something. Does crush the loins of his adversaries mean stop, like, the lineage from happening? Because, like, loins is where the balls are. I bet you it does. Let me see if it's in here. Nope. Let's look it up. Crush the loins of his adversaries. Where did it go? Verses, chapter 33, verse 11. Crush loins. Violent and vivid, which often surprises readers. Let me break this down. Smite through the loins those who rise against him, those who hate him. Lower back of the hip area where strength and reproductive power are located. rendering them powerless, unable to stand, fight, or making them unable to stand, fight, or reproduce. So scholars connect the blessing. God protecting Levites against those who rose up against them and will continue to do so. The phrase that they rise no more is crucial. Scholars emphasize that this isn't just about victory, it's about complete permanent destruction. So yeah, it's completely ending them. Very interesting. I never thought about that, but I'll continue. Those who hate him and those who will not rise, they rise not again. Of Benjamin he said, the beloved of the Lord dwells in safety. The high God surrounds him all day long and dwells between his shoulders. And Joseph he said, blessed by the Lord be his land with the choicest gifts of heaven above, and the deep that crouches beneath, with the choicest fruits of the sun, and the rich yield of the months, with the finest produce in the ancient mountains, and the abundance of the everlasting hills. Dang, man. Sometimes these pages be sticking. With the best gifts of the earth and its fullness, and the favor of him who dwells in the bush, may these rest on the head of Joseph and the pate of him who is prince amongst his brother, a firstborn bull. He has majesty, and his horns are the horns of the wild ox. With them he shall gore the peoples, all of them to the ends of earth. They are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. If I remember correctly, those were anything. Man, the commentary on this thing ain't that good, this chapter. Or maybe I just got a lot of questions. Let's continue. Chapter 33, verse 17. This directly refers to the large, fruitful populations of the two tribes, with Ephraim the younger having a larger, more prominent population than Manasseh, fulfilling Jacob's prophecy. This verse emphasizes God's blessing of strength, prosperity, and dominance upon Joseph's descendants. It highlights that their power comes from God and that they're intended to be leaders pushing back obstacles to secure their inheritance. Firstborn bull, he has his majesty, and his horns are the horns of the wild ox. With them he shall gore the peoples, all of them, to the ends of the earth. They are the 10,000s of Ephraim. With them they shall push the peoples to the ends of the earth. This describes the military strength and victory these tribes would have in pushing back enemies. Oh, so it's describing how they're going to be an unstoppable force. His majesty is like a firstborn bull. His image represents Joseph's line, and the most prominent, strong, and honored among the tribes of Israel. The firstborn held a position of authority and received a double portion. His horns are the wild ox. Horns in scripture symbolize power, strength, and sovereignty. The wild ox is a symbol of unattainable strength. So it's saying that that group in particular, or not that group because it's two of them, right? Because Joseph had the 12 tribes are broken down into Jacob's or Israel's sons, but he didn't have 12 sons, but like as a proxy for them, if I think I use that word right, or Joseph he kind of adopted Joseph's two other sons, and that's Ephraim and Manasseh. And these ones are like, it's saying that that's like the military strength, big guns basically. And Zebulun, he said, rejoice, Zebulun, in your going out, and Issachar in your tents. They shall call peoples to their mountain. There they offer right sacrifices, for they draw from the abundance of the seas and the hidden treasures of the sand. And of Gad, who said, blessed be who enlarges Gad. Gad crouches like a lion. He tears off arm and scalp. He chose the best of the land for himself, for theirs. There a commander portion was reserved, and he came to the heads of the people with Israel and executed the justice of the Lord and his judgment for Israel. And of Dan, he said, Dan is a lion's cub that leaps from Bashan. And of Naphtali, he said, Naphtali stated, with favor and full of blessing of the Lord possessed the lake of the south. And Asher, he said, most blessed the sons of Asher, let him be favored of his brothers, and let him dip his foot in oil. Your bars shall be iron and bronze in your days, so shall your strength be. There is no one like God of Jeshurun, who rides through the heavens to your help, through the skies in his majesty, the eternal God in your dwelling place, and underneath all are the everlasting arms, and he thrust out the enemy before you and said, destroy. So Israel lived in safety, Jacob lived alone, and in a land of grain and wine, whose heaven drops down dew. Happy are you, O Israel, who is like you, a people saved the Lord, the shield of your help and the sword of your triumph. Your enemies shall come fawning to you, and you shall tread upon their backs. Let's say, Gad crouches like a lion. Gad crouches like a lion and tears off an arm and a scalp. This imagery conveys the tribe of Gad was marked by extreme courage, strength, and military prowess. So Gad is a bunch of big guns too. Lying down, crouching is not flitting, and resting confidently is in the strength of territory. It signifies that Gad was secure in their land, but remained prepared to poise and strike at any time. Right? Because they were the ones that were outside, right? Similar lion metaphor is used just 2 verses later in Deuteronomy to describe the tribe of Dan and comparing them to a lion's cub, leaping from Bashan to illustrate their sudden aggressive to territorial expansion. Yeah, because Gad, along with Reuben and half the tribe of Manasseh, was stationed on the Transjordan. That's interesting. That's why he uses that crouches like a lion, because they like posted on the outside waiting for the time to kind of roll up, pull up, and do some work. So that's why they're described as a crouching lion, because they're there, but they're ready to pull up, tear off an arm, and scalp at any moment. Very interesting. So poetic. All right. So now the death of Moses. Then Moses went up from the plains of Moab to Mount Nebo on the top of Pisgah, which is opposite of Jericho, and the Lord showed him all the land, Gilead as far as Dan, all Naphtali, the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, and the land of Judah as far as the western sea, the Negeb and the plain that is the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees, as far as Zoar, And the Lord said to him, "This is the land of which I swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. I will give it to your offspring. I have let you see it with your eyes, but you shall not go over there." So Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of the Lord, and he buried him in the valley in the land of Moab, opposite Beth Peor. But no one knows the place of this burial to this day. Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eye was undimmed, and his vigor unabated. And the people of Israel wept for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days. Then the days of weeping and mourning for Moses ended. And Joshua the son of Nun was full of the spirit of wisdom, for Moses had laid his hands on him. So the people of Israel obeyed him and did as the Lord had commanded Moses. And there has not arisen a prophet since in Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. None like him for all the signs and wonders that the Lord sent him to do the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh and to all the servants, to all his land, and all the mighty power, all his great deeds and terror that Moses did in the sight of all Israel. And that is the end. So Joshua's taken over, but Moses is special, and he's the last one that God is was working with Moses, not face to face, but prophet since Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. And it says the Lord knew face to face, not Moses knew face to face, because the Lord seen his face, but Moses never saw the Lord's face. You couldn't directly see the face. Seeing the face is too much. You got to see him, but not really see him. But he was there kind of standing with him. And that Moses was the last prophet to stand with the Lord. All the other prophets after, kind of, the Lord speaks through them, but he don't show up in the cut and be right next to him standing there. So that was that. Now we're in the book of Joshua, starting tomorrow. About to pop up into the promised land and go get it. Let's see, what are we gonna hit tomorrow? Cool 3 chapters tomorrow too. Yeah, probably that. But yeah, done with Deuteronomy. Alright, but God bless, guys. Thank you for sticking around. For all of you that did stick around, kind of went on some tangents because I got I don't know, I had some questions I needed to answer myself, and this is if I don't know the answer and something interests me, I go look it up too, because it's real easy to. What was I gonna say? But yeah, God bless, guys. I pray that everyone hears this message that is meant to hear it, and I pray that you truly listen to the things that I say today. That I pray that it actually helps you guys a little bit, and I pray that you understand that God loves you, that He's here for you, and He's He's providing for you abundantly. He doesn't want you to be pulled away from Him. He doesn't want you worshiping other lesser gods or idolizing things that don't deserve worship. He's the only thing that deserves worship. And worshiping Him is the best thing that you can do. Following His rules are the best things you can do. Following Him is the most freeing thing that you can do, because He takes away all your anxiety, all your depression, all your anything. Right off your chest, and you don't got to worry about anything anymore. Give all your problems to God, and He will more than happily take them and give you peace because He loves you. God bless, guys.